superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Hello, good evening, welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from news about Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Okanse. Tonight, President John Dramani Mahama declares that Ghana's current program with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, will be the nation's final financial rescue package. He says he's hoping that Ghana will not go back to the IMF after this 17th time. But is this possible, given that he is not the first leader to make such a commitment? Stay with us. We'll have a conversation on this matter tonight. The government says the fight against galamsey, that's illegal mining, is yielding results with water bodies clearing up. Well, the civil society doesn't really agree. They have some reactions to it. Stay with us. We'll have a conversation on it. Also tonight on Ghana Tonight, oil marketing companies battling it out with price decreases, hoping to capture the market. Well, it's all to the benefit of the consumer. We have this plus more, as always, on Ghana Tonight, the integral part of it. Keep the conversation going on Facebook and on X, and the hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight, and we are live on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The Asantehene Otumfo Osei Tutu II has sounded a firm warning over lapses within the Ghana Police Service, urging the Inspector General of Police to enforce discipline, strengthen core values, and restore public trust amid growing concerns about integrity and political neutrality. He made a call during his maiden visit to the Inspector General of Police at the police headquarters in Accra.
Persistent public disquiet about lapses that undermine discipline and engender mistrust. We have to admit, however, attractive the arguments may be, there's going to be more than a mountain to climb if we ignore public concerns about police values. We will urge you, IGP, and your devoted colleagues to seriously tackle issues affecting police integrity and public trust. I also hope that you work towards making the service politically neutral.
The Ghana Journalists Association is calling for the immediate arrest and prosecution of all Ghana National Fire Service personnel allegedly involved in the assault of a class media group journalist. The president of the association, Albert Kwabna Jumfo, made the call while addressing a news conference in Accra.
The GJ demands that the leadership of the Ghana National Fire Service, led by the Chief Fire Officer, Daniela Mawusi Into Sapon, publicly condemns this assault, identifies the officers involved, and applies severe internal sanctions. We also call for the immediate dismissal of the PRO of the Ghana National Fire Service from the position because our interaction with him on the case shows that he is unfit to be in charge of communication. Again, the GJ demands an unqualified public apology from the Ghana National Fire Service to Mr. Samuel Addo, the class media group, and the media fraternity.
President John Mahama says the Galamsey fight is beginning to reap its benefits, with major water bodies turning blue. Speaking at the 77th Annual Year School, the president called on stakeholders in the fight against illegal mining to remain steadfast, highlighting early signs of success in restoring affected water bodies.
We appreciate the work that NIMOS and the river guards are doing. Apparently, the river guards had operated upstream where the mining was taking place, and so it had changed the color of the water. And so that's why I'm encouraging you to keep up the fight and even strengthen it.
Diochihini Osajifo Amwetia Oforipenyi has called for renewed commitment towards protecting the Itiwa Range Forest Reserve. He made a call at Chebi, marking 100 years since the Itiwa Range Forest was gazetted as a protected forest, a process initiated by Nanase Ofori Atta.
Leadership has never been about it's for the future. Not together.
The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has defended the Gold Board and Domestic Gold Purchase Program, saying it was introduced during a period of acute economic vulnerability. He acknowledged the initiative imposed financial costs, but said it was a deliberate national decision to protect Ghana's economy.
Judged against the stabilization objective, the program has played a vital role. It is also important to be candid that this stability came at a cost. The Bank of Ghana, working with the Gold Board and the Ministry of Finance, we intend to convene a focused policy workshop with experts, with market practitioners and policymakers to examine how this national priority can be refined further in line with best practices elsewhere.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also on 3 News on YouTube and also TV3 Ghana on YouTube as well. So many ways you can connect with us. It's always probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Call Kumtumtum Preko. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, President John Dramani Mahama declares that Ghana's current IMF program, that's the extended credit facility, will be the nation's final financial rescue package. That's his hope. But is this hope feasible, possible, plausible? Well, it's a conversation that we're going to have tonight. But let's backtrack a bit and hear from the president. Exactly what the president said earlier today. President John Dramani Mahama has declared that Ghana's current program with the International Monetary Fund will be the nation's final financial rescue package. That's his hope and expectation. He's pledging to build an economy resilient enough never again to require such intervention or IMF support. He made these comments and commitments at the opening of the University of Ghana's 77th Annual New Year School and Conference earlier today. Take a look.
I've pledged to raise our economy and governance to a level that no succeeding government can reverse. In a region where democracy is backsliding, we must demonstrate that democracy works. I can assure Ghanaians also that we will not relax the current fiscal discipline and efficient management of the economy even in the election year of 2028. It must be the 17th and the last time that Ghana goes for a bailout from the IMF.
So you heard him. The hope is that it must be the final. And he gave reasons why he is having this hope and this expectation that we're not going to go to the IMF for any form of intervention, either the extended credit facility or any other form of intervention we've seen over the last 17 times that the IMF has had to come in to help us as a country recover from the impact of our own actions, inactions, mistakes, corruption, and other things that we've seen play out. But this is not the first time, right, that we've heard a leader make such a commitment. Although the context and circumstances are different, the baseline here we're looking at is the commitments in terms of these verbal commitments that have been made. Not too long ago, we heard from the former Finance Minister, Kenneth Nanayo Ofori-Atta, also make this comment. When there were calls for Ghana to resort to the IMF, he was quite clear in his words. We're not going to the IMF. Take a look.
But I can tell you, as my colleague, Deputy Minister said, we are not going to the IMF. Whatever we do, we are not. The consequences are there. We are a proud nation. We have the resources. We have the capacity. Don't let anybody tell you. Like when Joshua, Caleb, and the 10 others went to spy on the promised land. And only 2 of them came to say that we can do it. And the 10 went around the community murmuring, you can't, da 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 da. We are not people of short sight.
This was followed by his deputy at the time, and the late John Kuma. Now, this is what he also said in the same line of not thinking about going to the IMF at all. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, the YEE levy is also going to help with the fiscal consolidation effort and reduce the debt levels of our country. And that also means that we are going to see an improved economic ratings and not returning to the International Monetary Fund, which is the only solution our friends on the other side have always preferred. Why don't you go to the IMF? Go to the IMF. We have shown that we have alternatives to building the economy of this country without resorting to conditionalities that will be imposed on this country. We will not go to the IMF today. We will not go to IMF tomorrow. And we are not going as long as the NPP remains in power.
Now, these 2 statements by the former Finance Minister Kenneth Nanayo Ofori-Atta and then also his deputy, John Kuma, were made at the time when the country was faced with the economic situation. In fact, the quagmire of the impact of the economy that we were seeing at that time required those kinds of recommendations from civil society and others about Ghana going to the IMF. It was at the time that these statements were made. This time, the president is saying we're not going to the IMF, and he's saying this at a time when we're seeing all the indicators trending towards a positive direction, and then also the economic rebound that we are seeing now. He hinges his hope on a number of things, but let's remind ourselves exactly why we have gone to the IMF over the period. This is our 17th time, by the way, and this is it. First, balance of payment support. External payment obligations to shore up dwindling foreign exchange reserves, stabilizing the Ghana cedi, and that's why we see the $3 billion that has been disbursed over time with different tranches and specific amounts disbursed after each review, okay? And then we see the fiscal consolidation as one of the key reasons as well that we go to the IMF. The objective of restoring government finances, reducing budget deficit through measures like controlling spending. And that's what we're seeing now. The austerity we're seeing now, which has also contributed to the economic rebound. These are some of the measures. And then also the conditionalities that the IMF introduces when we go to them to whip us in line, improve our tax collection system, manage public debt, controlling spending, all of this to ensure that we're able to revamp and revive the economic fortunes, get back into line. Debt sustainability is one of the reasons as well that we run to the IMF, because then to borrow, and then we're not able to meet our obligations, leading to defaults, and then we have to restructure debts, and guess what? The citizens are the ones who bear the brunt. Remember this DDEP that we had to go through. We had old people, we're talking about pensioners having to picket for their money. Those dark periods that we've had to endure, all of this, macroeconomic stability, and then also the measures put in place to withstand the shocks. You hear the president talk about building an economy which will be able to withstand external shocks, because it's important. We are in a country that is import-driven, import-reliant. And so whenever there's something happening on the international market, on the external front, we are directly impacted. In fact, fuel prices now, we're seeing it doing well because we've seen prices of crude oil going down in terms of pricing on the world market because of a lot of the geopolitics that we're seeing. But also the currency, we've seen always we're assessing the strength of the currency against the dollar. Why? Because of our import-driven economy, as we have seen. Well, there's a talk about the import substitution so that we can have the economy within our own hands and predictable. Economic management is one. Poor fiscal discipline, including pre-election spending. And the president says that he's made that commitment. He is not going to preside over a government that would sway. Of course, when they get into an election period in 2028. This is a statement he made as well today at the New Year school. We have it, we'll keep it. If it happens to the contrary, we'll remind him of it. But Joe Jackson is joining us on Zoom right now. He's a financial analyst and CEO of Dalex Finance. Mr. Jackson, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. You heard the president make this clear statement. His hope and expectation is that this is going to be the last time we'll go to the IMF for any intervention or support. He says he's going to do that by building an economy that's resilient. How did this desk you?
Listen, feasible, yes. Likely, no. Why do I say it's feasible but not likely? The issue really simply is this. If we don't commit to fundamentally reforming our economy, if we don't commit to disciplined behavior, less corruption, then we'll end up with the IMF one more time. The issue is not whether whether we can say we won't go or we will go. The issue is simply this. We go to the IMF, they hold a big stick over us, we are disciplined. What do? We get back to correct behavior, life is good. Very rapidly, we forget about the behavior that took us to the IMF. We throw away the discipline. We behave like alcoholics that are addicted to borrowing, addicted to splurging on consumption. What then happens? We fall into trouble again and we keep running, cap in hand to the IMF and say, we beg. We will not go to the IMF only if we are disciplined. We will not go to the IMF only if we change the economy fundamentally and we learn from the mistakes of the past. So long as we keep forgetting the mistakes of the past, so long as we throw away discipline and go for popular consumption-based borrowing, hey, forgive me, but we'll be back with the IMF. The president says he hopes it will be the last time. If he continues in this wave of discipline shown by his Minister of Finance, shown by his Governor of the Central Bank, then in the 3 years left, we can guarantee we won't go to the IMF again. But if that discipline is thrown away, we'll end up with the IMF faster than we left. So it's up to us as Ghanaians. You don't want to go to the IMF? Be disciplined. You don't want to go to the IMF? learn from the mistakes of the past. You don't want to go to the IMF, start undertaking the fundamental reforms of this economy, the difficult decisions that have to be taken to make sure that we don't go there and beg again.
So essentially, whether or not we go to the IMF is in our hands, it's directly within our control. And you talk about all these indicators in the right direction, the president committing to ensure that this is done. He says he's hoping to build that economy while he's in office over the next 3 years ahead of him. But whether or not this is going to happen is directly within our hands, is it not?
It is in our hands. It is here. We can either decide to do the right thing or we can decide to grab. It's up to us.
I see. But you talk about the difficult decisions that has to be taken and then the structural reforms that have to be in place to ensure that indeed this hope and the expectation that the president has, as noble as it is, will be achieved, that we would control the fortunes of our economy and not go to the IMF for help after we've messed up. Do you see indications of these difficult decisions being taken, the structural reforms that you talk about, any indication that it's being done or will be done within his tenure while he is president?
I must say that the 24-hour economy document promises hope of the structural reforms that we're talking about. It is yet to be executed. And if you are hopeful like I am, then we are hopeful that it will be executed and those changes and structural reforms will start. So that's where my hope comes from, that this 24-hour slogan will be turned into proper reform of this economy, such that we start to feed ourselves, such that we start to export more, such that the...
I see, but talk about the export, you see, and that's why I want to hold you on there, because import substitution is one that we've talked about over the period, and improving our manufacturing, and that's one of the major areas that this 24-hour economy policy seeks to address. But beyond the hope that you have and you talk about, what else do you want to see, at least in the year 2026, in actualizing the details of this 24-hour economy policy?
Well, first of all, there's a document. Hope is the document. Reality is the execution. At this moment, I have abundant hope because the document says the right things. The execution we'll start to see in this year that we are in. Listen, you can never discount the effect of the environmental effect. We live in an era of global warming. So all around us, there are issues. Environmental disaster on this economy. For example, gold is a key part of our growth process. But Galamsey sits there squarely front and center and says, if we don't fix the Galamsey problem, the growth that we expect from gold won't happen. So we're going to fix our Greek, but we cannot fix our Greek if the environment is bad. So the environment is a critical part of this whole process. And fixing it becomes an imperative rather than just a simple choice.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And on that point that you ended on the environment, Joe Jackson is the CEO of Delex Finance, a financial analyst on the environment, but it leads us to the next issue that is coming up next year on Ghana Tonight. Government says the fight against illegal mining is yielding results with water bodies clearing up. That's what the president also said at this same venue earlier today, the University of Ghana 77th Annual New Year School. President John Dramani Mahama says Galamsey, the fight against illegal mining, is beginning to reap some benefits with major water bodies seeing some improvement. Now, speaking at the 77th Annual New Year School, the president called on stakeholders in the fight against illegal mining to remain steadfast, highlighting early signs of success restoring affected water bodies. Take a look.
And so we appreciate the work that NIMOS and the river guards are doing. Apparently, the river guards had operated upstream where the mining was taking place. And so it had changed the color of the water. And so that's why I'm encouraging you to keep up the fight and even strengthen it.
President talked about some river bodies that he himself traveled and saw, and in fact attested to the impact of illegal mining, and then over the last 6 months, the improvement that has been seen over the time. Take a look. We would recall that right now, but Engineer Dr. Kenashibe is going to be joining us to share his thoughts on what the president said on the fight against illegal mining. We'll hear from Awula Sewa as well on this matter, but earlier, this is what the president said. Take a look.
It has so entered the fabric of our people that it's not been an easy fight. Communities have mobilized to attack, the task force when they have gone to enforce the ban on illegal mining. And so I'll encourage the task force, the minister, the Environmental Protection Agency, all of those involved in the fight against illegal mining, please don't give up. There are some positive results beginning to show. Recently, during the Christmas, Madam Lodina said, we cannot take this stress. So pack your bag. I'm taking you out of town. And so we ran away to a place called Crown Forest, where they have some zebras and giraffes. And I was telling Uncle Ishmael Hampton, for the first time in 2 years, I slept at 9 o'clock in the night and woke up at 9 o'clock the next morning. And it was a very peaceful, serene environment. But why I raise it is that when you go to where they have the animals, you cross a stream. And before we crossed the bridge, I asked them, which river is this? They said it was the Ayinshu River. And they said, if you had come here 6 months ago, this water was the color of coffee. It says now is the color of light Milo. And so, it's getting better. And so we appreciate the work that NIMOS and the river guards are doing. Apparently, the river guards had operated upstream where the mining was taking place. And so it had changed the color of the water.
Oh, so that's the president's account of what he experienced during the Christmas period regarding at least one of many water bodies that had been impacted by the activities of illegal miners. Engineer Dr. Kenashibe is the convener of the coalition, Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining. He's joining us on Zoom right now for a conversation on what the president has said, his verdict on the fight against galamsey. Engineer, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. You heard the president. He does that analysis of coffee and light Milo, just to give us a pictorial effect in our minds of the color of the water then and now. But he underscores the fact that a lot more needs to be done. Does it strike a balance of what the reality is and what you, the CSOs, are seeing on the ground and what the president is saying?
Well, thank you very much, Alfred. I think we need to state that definitely with the change in government, His Excellency has, demonstrated the desire to fight this. And his Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is also doing a human job, in being able to deal with the challenges. I'm sure the president said to the issues of the analogies in jest, typically the way he is as a communicator. But you and I know that when it comes to the issues of water quality, the way we measure it is not just, the look of it, but it has to be done. you could look at the TBD, which are measured in NTUs. And in our last meeting with His Excellency, one of the things that we asked for was, data, some research to be done, to monitor our water bodies, our forests, to be able to get some data so that we can carry the whole of Ghana along with us. So in as much as I will agree with him that, based on the work done by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, NIMOS is doing a great job, in terms of the hits they are doing and all of that. But unfortunately, there's some work that we have done at the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey with our limited resources. And, so you go to a river like the Brim River at its source at Apampam, you're getting 11 NTUs, which is not too far away from the 5 NTUs that is required. But the same Brim River, when you go to Bonso, we're recording 16,800 NTUs, and that is definitely way above it. You in the same research that was done, Chebi is also recording over 6,000 NTUs, or Sino just around that. Akimoda is somewhere around 2,000, NTUs. And you go into other places as well. And if you also look at the dissolved oxygen in some of the rivers, you find out that in a lot of the places, it's really, hypoxic, too low for many fish species and stressful and potentially lethal. So the Achima Pampam, for example, is recording 1.9 milligrams per liter. You go to Chebi, 1.65, Osino 1.89, Bonso 1.58, Achimoda 1.29. So a place, Achima Pampam tends to be the place which is healthy and good for most aquatic life. It's recording around 6.83. So it is important that we are able to analyze, when we want to look at the impact of Galamsey so far as we are concerned on these things.
Well, the president talks about some of the challenges that the fight against Galamsey has faced with communities. Some communities, he says, mobilizing to attack NIMOS members. We've seen that play out in different ways. And then also the issue about some positive results that he says has been recorded right now. But then again, a lot more has to be done. He knows that. What do you expect for this year, 2026, beyond what the president has referenced about some water bodies turning color, as in improving in terms of how they look, not so much about the quality of the water that you talked about?
The challenges that are confronting us, because you go into places and you see Galamsey happening in plain sight. And MCs, DCs in these communities who are close by, who are close with the power that His Excellency the President has given to them, are waiting for the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to come from Oda, to come from Accra into some of those places, to be able to come and deal with the challenges around Galamsey, and that definitely is not good enough. So His Excellency had also given KPIs to these MCs and DCEs. One of the things that we would want to see His Excellency do a lot more of, if we are actually supposed to win this war, is to hold these MCs and DCs also accountable. I talked about NIMOS, the good work that NIMOS is doing, but look at the number of arrests that NIMOS has made. And how much of that prosecutions have we done? And how much of that are we seeing, that these people have been successfully prosecuted? Very little, the data is very little. So we would need Attorney General working together with the IGP and also the Chief Justice, also collaborating with His Excellency the President to ensure that these issues are dealt with. The issues around campings. In October 2024, for example, His Excellency in a meeting with the media had talked about the fact that his focus was going to be on the campings. Unfortunately, Alfred, tell me if you know of any of the campings that have been arrested, and that have been successfully prosecuted. Even Akunta Mine, that we have pushed severally. We're not too sure how that prosecution is going. If you take Professor Frimpong Boate's report, it's laden with a lot of politically exposed persons who are being accused. We don't know whether there's even been any investigations that have been done, on these people. His Excellency himself got the Attorney General to cause some investigations to happen. Yoko to got some investigations to happen. Don't know what is happening to that. So the issues around the kingpin, the issues around politically exposed persons who are involved in this galamsey, it's still something that we need to deal with. So in as much as we agree that, you take, for example, the current Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, when he took over as acting Minister for the Environment as well, he's been able to successfully get the LI, 2462 repealed. And that's a positive step. But then what is happening? In our meeting with His Excellency again, we had raised issues about NIMOS had told us about the fact that they were going to establish bases, permanent bases in some of this community. I'm not too sure the NIMOS have had the resources to be able to do that. And so that's still outstanding. So there are a lot more that we need to do to be able to deal with this scourge of galamsey. It's still a national security threat. The issues currently, one of the major challenges that is confronting us is the issues around cyanidation. We have some of these illegal miners who go to places like Burkina Faso and bring these Burkina Faso into this country, and they are doing something they call in situ leaching. The pits that they take, they do the leaching right within the pits. And these pits are not lined like the way if you take the large-scale miners. They would line these pits so that the cyanide does not leach. So this cyanide will leach, get into groundwater, if there are boreholes around that. There are situations where they had to take the EPA to intervene, with some of our large-scale miners to be able to save big communities from dying. So there are major existential threats that still exist that needs to be dealt with. And so those are issues that we need to look at. We definitely can look at the issues around excavators and the work that government has done with excavators, controlling it coming into this country, and then the issues of registration, the tracking. Again, that's another place that was started by the previous government. This government is moving. We need to see a lot more speed in the issues of the tracking.
Right. And Engineer Dr. Ken Ashibe, I thank you for this. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Awolasewa is the co-founder and then also campaigner for eco-conscious citizens, one of the foremost CSOs in the environment space. Awola also shared his thoughts on what the president said earlier today, and then also about the fight against galamsey, what has to be done going forward, taking into consideration as well the effort that has been made, and then also the gains that the president references. This is what Awola said earlier. Take a look.
Well, let's look at the facts. Let's look at what is happening on the ground. There have been efforts. Nobody is going to deny that there are efforts. We have to commend NAMOS. They are doing their best with the resources they have. But what I think needs to happen is that they need to be better resourced. They need to be better resourced. You see, we're on the verge of an ecological catastrophe. And that is why civil society organizations asked for a targeted state of emergency so that we could deal adequately with the threat. It's as if we have about 1,000 fires raging, and we've just got one fire engine going from fire to fire. So you can imagine that the will might be there to put out the fire, but if you are not properly equipped, resourced to deal with the environmental terrorism going on, it's not going to work. So what we are saying is that efforts are being made, but we do need the political will to really end this. When you look at NAMOS, they don't even have a dedicated phone line. There was illegal mining taking place in Atronsu. We tried to get hold of NAMOS. There was no number, but we eventually got hold of them, and they were unable to come. You should go and do a fact-finding mission and look at the state of the Atronsu stream. So with all the goodwill in the world, if you don't have the resources to be able to get to where you are needed, it makes the whole matter very challenging.
Olasewa is co-founder, Eco-Conscious Citizens. This is Ghana Tonight, and coming up next, The Santio 248 to the second has warned against the politicization of the Ghana Police Service, right? And this is one that we're going to get into, then exactly what he said. And that's what is coming up next year on Ghana Tonight. The historic visit of the Asantino 248 to the second earlier today to the headquarters of the Ghana Police Service. He's urging that appointments and promotions be based on merit and seniority, not lobbying or political influence. And he says proper processes and qualified leadership are key to ensuring an independent and professional police force. Take a look.
Politicizing the police service is something that we all have to be very careful about.
Zoom.
When governments change, I hear some people lobbying to take positions where there's an incumbent IGP. I hear that.
Zoom.
I get to know that. Let us do it properly. Let us stop so whoever comes will know that seniority and qualified people will be able to take over.
Zoom.
That should be the motive behind it.
Zoom.
So that the government would also know this is more qualified. Police Management Board can even recommend who is there to do it. Lobbying and using political persuasions to take positions wouldn't help the police to be more independent.
Zoom.
And I believe strongly, having spoken to the current president, I'm assured that he doesn't want to interfere. It will go through the process, and whoever is qualified will be able to take over whatever it is.
You'll find more of this on 3news.com. Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, after this quick break, oil marketing companies are battling it out with price decreases. And that's what's happening right now. You could call it the price war. We're hoping to capture the market and also consumers, essentially. But then again, with all of this going on, it is the consumer that benefits. The CEO of the National Petroleum Authority has been talking about measures that have been put in place to address issues related to consumers enjoying lower fuel prices. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. One of the fiercest price wars in petroleum history is unfolding right before our eyes today. And that's what's coming up next. A significant development to the pockets of consumers, because with what is happening now, with the major oil marketing companies just juggling it out and also trying to get the attention of consumers, obviously it benefits us. Some oil marketing companies have reduced fuel prices at the pumps again. Star Oil selling a liter petrol just a little over 10 cedis, 30 pesos, and diesel at 11 cedis, 36 pesos. Some selected outlets will show that to you in a bit. And then also Goil as well coming in strongly. Industry players say the move signals growing competition. One such person in the industry, one of the players in this industry, is Duncan Amoa, is the Executive Secretary of Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. COPEC is joining us on the telephone. Duncan, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. With what we're seeing now, that's ultimately to the benefit of consumers, is it not? Now with these oil marketing companies reducing prices just to catch our attention. But how sustainable is this?
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. This is honestly, for a very long time, one of the biggest windows as far as price, movement is concerned locally. I was shocked to see this early morning around 6:30 a.m. Goil cutting back almost 1 cedi 30, 1 cedi 50 pesos for both petrol, diesel, and for the first time, even the RON 95, they had gone down quite significantly. Just an hour or two later, you get Star Oil responding to say that where Goil had gravitated towards, they will go down further, just to be able to still keep their stranglehold on the market. And I think that consumers have been very, very excited today. Somewhere along in the course of the day, you also saw Total come up to also beat down their prices, although it couldn't get to the levels that you saw Goil and then start doing earlier. It's been one of the finest days as far as the deregulation program that we commenced somewhere in June 2015 is concerned. Our initial fears were to do with the possibility of cartels coming up where they sit in a room and decide one price to sell to you and I. Today's development downstream has demonstrated that we are gravitating to a point where the OMCs are able to independently, work out their own pricing in the interest of the consumer, such that the consumer will be attracted to their forecourt. So, Alfred, it's one of the happy, lucky days for some of us industry watchers downstream.
It's the first pricing window of the year, and we're seeing this. The second pricing window will be the next, 10 days, all things being equal. How do you see this playing out in the second pricing window? That's why I asked the question about sustainability.
Truth is, we don't give enough plaudits or credits to the Bank of Ghana, and for that matter, the handlers of this economy. One of the key reasons you are seeing these adjustments downwards has to do with the local currency. You saw in some part of December, the city was struggling. Fortunately for you and I at this point, the city seemed to have rallied to around 10.4, 10.5, which is a departure from the 11.5 it was some days ago. Once this happens, you get the indication that the handlers of the economy are back to work. Alfred, they've already announced that the month of January, they are also pumping in some 1 billion USD FX or dollar to be able to take care of the importation space. I have every confidence that if the city maintains the ground it has done up to this point, we could be in for even more reduction the second window, January. Mind you, the geopolitical factors have so far also not panned out very negative for you and I. Venezuela, the expectation was that would rally. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone up. It did go up a bit and then it's dropped again as of today. So if international markets continue to play out the way they are, if the handlers of your economy continue to bolster the city's performance, I have every confidence that we may be in for some good time. Don't also forget that inventories locally are quite high. I have a couple of people come up to say they cannot even get storage space now for products incoming. It means that we have significant volumes of product. You have the oil refinery also coming on stream now, although it is not contributing that much at this point. Right. That news that we are preparing to even refine locally would also send some confidence to the market such that people will be willing to sell their products, and for which you are seeing the kind of reductions you are seeing. It looks quite feasible or sustainable in the short to medium term. The long term, you would need a Bank of Ghana to sustain whatever they are doing to keep the city where it is.
And I do appreciate your time, Duncan. Thank you very much for joining us. He's the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. There, he talks about the Bank of Ghana and sustaining the value of the city against the dollar, because it's one of three components that influences the pricing of petroleum products at the pumps. The cedi and the dollar, or the currency differentials, that's number one. The taxes and levies on each liter of petrol or diesel, we counted about 13 levies and taxes. The NPA says they're going to review it going forward as well to reduce the burden of taxpayers. The Coordinator Judith Tamaklo also said this at the 77th New Year School about the consumer-focused policies they're putting in place to reduce price of petroleum products at the pumps. Then the third factor is the crude oil prices on the world market, and that's outside of our control, to be honest. But this is it. This is what Tuesday looked like at the pumps. Goil, fuel, super, under 11 cedis, 10 cedis, 99 pesos. Diesel, 11 cedis, 96 pesos per liter. That's the raw 95, 13 cedis, 97 pesos per liter. When you look at Star Oil, which was classified as the biggest OMC not too long ago, also you're seeing this play out. So that price war that we see obviously benefits the consumer. But the sustainability is the question as well that I asked Duncan, and that hinges on these three factors. Currency differentials, how well the city will do in the medium to long term, and then also the crude oil prices on the world market. And this is it. This is what's happening on the world market. If you look at the Bloomberg terminal, crude oil, that's Brent crude, has been inching up. In fact, we saw a 1.66% increase in price of crude, that's a Brent crude, on the world market to $61.75. $61.75, hovering around $60, $61 thereabout. So that is what we're seeing on the world market. If the prices of crude oil on the world market goes up, it impacts on the revenue projections in the budget for government. If it goes down, it impacts on prices of petroleum products at the pumps for us as consumers. Either way, we benefit. But we'll see how things play out in the second pricing window. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your time. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. I am Alfred Okonse. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight.